Hi, I'm Netter, and this is Netter's Network. And today we're going to be doing part 3, painting. In my previous videos I mentioned that the walls and the ceiling are going to be white, but my cabinet doors and the 2 drawer fronts, as well as the trim around the door, are going to be this really pretty blue. It's called Moonshade, and believe me, it looks much better in person. It's going to give it that little pop of color so I don't have just a boring white room. I also mentioned other things I'm going to be doing, such as replacing the floor and giving a treatment into the shower area. But those are later videos. After I finished doing my video yesterday on prep work, I did a double check to make sure that everything that I needed to remove or tape around was removed or taped around. And this morning I realized I forgot one big thing. Literally, a big thing. This mirror. So I ended up taping that this morning because I don't want to get paint on my mirror. Before taking on the actual project, you want to make sure that all your prep work is done. In my case, since I'm painting, I need to make sure that anything I didn't want to get paint on was removed or taped off. Then I did a double check this morning with fresh eyes to make sure there was nothing I overlooked. I had forgotten to tape off my mirror, so I took care of that really quick. The other thing that I made sure I did was to empty out my cabinets, because I'm planning on painting in there, and I made sure that I had all the supplies that I needed to actually paint. I have my paint, my brushes, painting stir sticks, paint tray with disposable liners, quick and easy cleanup, and last but not least, plastic tarps. I made sure that I had everything that I needed so I don't have to stop in the middle of my project to have to run to the store to get something that was forgotten. So now I am fully prepared to start this painting project. Before I get started with the painting, I'm going to do a light sanding on the walls where I had covered a couple small holes that I had discovered. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is painting here on the side by the mirror, using the smallest brush I have. Now unfortunately, the roller that I have is really too small for this particular roller, but I'm going to make it work. And you can see it's looking better already. For the side here where my brush is a little too small, I'm using one of these sponge brushes. I can get in here really easy with that. As fascinating as it is to watch someone paint, I'm sure you didn't want to sit here and watch me paint an entire wall. So what I did was I painted from the top of the medicine chest down through the bottom portion here and then up the other side of the medicine chest. Okay, because I'm short, I have to stand up on top of the sink to do this portion. And you can see just how much brighter and better it looks. And what I probably should have done before I did this, which I didn't think of till just now, is to go around my edge here with my paintbrush so that I don't have this gap where my roller couldn't reach. So I'm going to do that now. Since I'm going to be painting the ceiling white as well, it doesn't matter if I get some paint on it. And then my roller just smooths out what I just did. So I'm going to finish painting this wall, and I'll be back in a few minutes. After I painted this portion here, and alongside of the medicine chest, I had to climb onto the sink to get to that portion there. Since I couldn't get a good camera angle from my tripod, I just painted it, and I'm telling you what I did. So I painted there above the mirror, above the big mirror, and then above the shower as far as I could reach. So despite my precautions of taping around the mirror to protect it, I still managed to get paint on it. But it's really easy to get off. Just take a chisel and scrape. And you can see it comes off really easy. There you go. Quick and easy. I'm going to take care of the rest of it after I take the tape off. Okay, so a couple things. One, this is a really small room, so it keeps the heat in. I had the windows open earlier and it got really, really hot in here. So close the windows, turn on the air, so that sound you're hearing in the background is my air conditioning. Hopefully it's not too loud and drowning out any of the recording. Second, I set up my camera after I showed you where I left off above the shower area to show you the ceiling and the walls as I painted those. Unfortunately, my battery died and nothing recorded. So, the ceiling and the walls are done. And what I'm going to move on to is painting the tiles by the toilet. I had actually painted the ones on the side here, and I can show you what that looks like before I go to the other ones. I did 2 coats on there. I'm probably going to have to put on a 3rd coat because tiles aren't really meant to be painted with regular paint. But then I will be putting a sealer over that after I finish everything. Before I show you the tile, I wanted to show you this underneath spot. This is the place below my drawer and next to my cabinet. It's a rather large open area, and originally I was thinking of painting the back wall blue, but because it is such a large area, it can get dark under there. So I thought white would be the best color to paint the walls so that it reflects the light and makes it more open and airy. I'm trying to give you the best view I can. It's kind of a tight spot, but as you can see, I've got tiles all here down the side of the toilet tank. It goes all the way down to the floor, and they stop just above the toilet tank. They also go all the way up to the top of the shower, about 2 inches or so in. And you can see I've got that taped off so that I can paint that as well. I'm going to start off with a brush on these lower areas. Hopefully I can hold my camera and paint at the same time. And this is just the first coat. I'll be putting a second coat over this. Well, you get the general idea. It's really hard to hold the camera and paint at the same time, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I painted all the bottom tiles, roughly up to where the toilet seat sits, and that's the first coat. Of course, since I can't move the toilet, I have to work around it. So now I'm going to start doing these other tiles here next to the toilet tank. And I know I started off painting earlier with a sponge paintbrush. I quickly moved to a regular paintbrush because the sponge one wasn't doing what I needed it to do. I'm making sure that when I'm painting these tiles, I'm getting in the little crevices so that the caulking isn't showing, because the caulking is also like this dull color and I don't want that showing through. I know some of you watching are like, why does the painting look awkward? I can tell you exactly why. I'm left-handed. And if you're right-handed, this is going to look opposite to you, so it's going to look weird. I'm quite fortunate that my toilet tank does not go flush up against the wall. There's a nice space behind it, so I'll be able to get my brush up behind it to put a couple coats there. But I am going to put some painter's tape around the lid because I didn't think to do that earlier and I don't want to get paint on it. So this is nice that I have this gap behind here. So I can just put my brush down. Since I put my painter's tape on, I don't have to worry about getting on the lid. And then I just paint over the rest of the tiles. And again, I'm making sure that I get all that caulking in between because it is a really ugly beige color and I don't want that showing through. This paint is drying really fast, so I'll be ready to do a second coat pretty quick. Now I'm going to continue up the wall here to the top of the shower. I'm also making sure that I get these edges because I don't want any of that blue showing through. I am trying to keep this as smooth as possible so that when I do the second coat I don't have any weird lumps or anything. I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see what I'm going to paint in here, but let's give it a try. That's as much as I can paint without my big head being in the way. So I'm going to get the rest done and I'll be back in a minute. This is the cabinet underneath my sink. That's the door. It's not very pretty. And the underneath, that's just sad. This is the door I just painted. Huge difference. Still needs a second coat, but wow. From this to this. Doesn't that look so much better? Okay, so now everything that I wanted painted white has been painted white. The walls, the ceiling, the cabinets, underneath, the tiles behind the toilet, all of that has been painted white. So now it's time for the blue accents. Probably my least favorite thing to do when painting is taping off. And when you've got curves like this, it can be really hard to try and get the tape around there. So I'm actually thinking smarter, not harder, and I'm making a template. So I'm just going to take my frog tape, or painter's tape, and putting it over where the curve is. And then I can just take my nail and go around the curve to give me a template to cut out. So now, all I have to do is fit it into place. And that just saved me a lot of time and hassle. Before I use a roller on this, I'm going to go around the edges with a paintbrush because the roller's not going to get in there. And this is that really pretty blue I'm going to be putting on here. I'm not too concerned about this portion because I'll be going over that with a roller. This will be needing 2 coats, but I'm going to let this one dry first. And because I forgot to put on my gloves, I got paint on me. I think I'll put my gloves on. And yes, I should have opened up this door before painting that, so that didn't happen. So now, onto the doors. I did close this door because I don't need it moving while I'm trying to paint. And my air conditioner just kicked in, so hopefully that won't be killing the sound quality. So what do you guys think of the color so far? To make it easier to paint the other door, I'm going to open this one up so they're not both closed at the same time, making it harder to open later. Just realized that my tripod does not go any lower than this, and it doesn't allow me to tilt my camera down. So unfortunately, you're only going to be able to see me do the top part of this door. right? Actually, maybe it can. That's better. Again, I'm painting over the outer portion where the roller's not going to be able to reach. What's nice about using the roller is that it covers a larger area so much faster than if I was just to use the paintbrush. While this part dries, I'm going to work on the other drawer. I just realized that my camera was paused while I was painting this drawer, so you heard none of my commentary. Basically what I was saying is, as I did on the other ones, paint around the edges first with a paintbrush, because the roller won't reach there, and to pull the drawer out a bit so you don't inadvertently paint something you don't intend to. Despite the fact I have this taped off, I'm a sloppy painter, so I want to make sure that I didn't get any on the countertop. While I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm now going to do the trim, but I have to tape it off first. Yeah, I know I should have probably done it all at the same time, but I didn't think of it. Well, that was a workout. As I mentioned, my least favorite thing to do is taping off. In fact, the hardest part that I had to do, taping off there by the toilet. Now that I've taped off all my trim and the window behind me, I'm going to paint those areas next. Aside from the trim and the window, the only other thing I have to paint is the side of my bathroom cabinet. I noticed that when I was painting my cabinet doors that I was getting some streaks with the paintbrush. So I'm going to try these sponge ones to see if they work a little bit better. The smaller one is for, of course, the tinier areas, and this size is perfect for the double-sized trim that I have. So I started painting the window behind me, and the sponge just wasn't working as well as I hoped it would. It still left a lot of streaks, so I switched back to the brush, and if I have a little bit more paint on the brush than I normally would, it seems to work better. So I'm going to stick with the brush for now. I finished painting the window behind me, well, the first coat anyway, and I used the roller for the flatter parts, and it really seemed to help. So when I do the second coat, I'm going to use that again, and I use the regular paintbrush for the rest of it. So I'm going to let that dry, and now on to the trim. So as I'm going through this journey of my do-it-yourself bathroom remodel, I've come across some pitfalls. And I am by no means an expert in any of this. It's just a project I decided to do myself. I saw other do-it-yourselfers that have done similar things, and I was like, hey, that looks really nice, I think I'll try it myself. Some of the pitfalls that I've had are not immediately seeing all the things that I need to take care of before I start to paint. For example, when I taped around the trim, I didn't think to tape around the floor as well. So I started painting, then I had to stop and put tape down the floor to protect the floor. As I'm looking at the trim around the door, I realized I have to figure out where my cutoff point is going to be so I'm not getting blue literally everywhere. And despite the fact that I put tape on my cabinet doors, I just noticed a big blue splotch on one of them that had I seen at the time, I would have wiped up. It might be too late to get it up now. You're going to have pitfalls. You're going to have things that go wrong. You're going to think you have everything you need and then go, oh, I don't have, Don't let it bother you. Just take a deep breath, step back, take care of what you need to take care of. You'll get through it. And with that said, I'm going to go back to painting my trim. Everything is now painted with a second coat. I am more than done. I don't think I want to see paint again in a really long time. I was going to paint the back of the door, but after all this other work, I decided I'm going to leave the door as is, but I will treat it to a nice scrub down with Murphy's oil soap to bring out the wood grain and make it look nicer. I mean, it's a super old door. I'm sure it's original in 1968. One of those old hollow core doors. Anything I can do to make it look a little bit better, I'm going to go for it. I figure Murphy's oil soap, cheap, easy, and I don't have to paint. So that is all that I have for painting. I didn't actually show you the baseboards of the trim. Let me do that now. So, here's the trim around the door. You can just see how beautiful that blue is on there. Here are the baseboards. Don't those look great? And yes, I'm going to do something about that grate right there. As well as my cabinets. Thank you for joining me on my painting journey through all my pitfalls and successes. Hopefully you picked up a trick or two. Maybe you can teach me one. Please leave a comment below. I'd love to know your insight, what you think of the colors I used, the techniques I used. If there's something that I could have definitely done better, please tell me how you would have done it. I'm really excited to read your comments. Again, thank you for joining me, and please stay tuned for part 4, Fablon. See you next time. Bye.